lazy bone, sleeping in the sun. How you expect to get your day's work done?
Today I'm going to try and do some random hollow point testing. And now that I've got this test tube here to work with, I want to see if I can get my velocity down at the same time for each one. That even though you load and you have an average speed, you know by the extreme variation of the speed that you could have 40, 60, 80 feet per second spread. So in order to have any meaningful results on these hollow points, I kind of would like to know the speed it went in the tube at. So I'm going to try and run this chronograph in front of the tube, and then I'll have to stand on the second rung of a little step ladder over here, so I don't get any muzzle blast affecting the readings. And that's pretty much what I'm going to do today. I'm just farting around trying to learn how to use this new rig, but I do have kind of an interesting experiment to do with some hollow points that I've had in stock for quite a while. So let me get this camera off the tripod and I'll show you what I'm doing. Now these hollow points today are all cast from this MP mold here, and you'll see that with this pin here and this pin, those cast what we call a cup point. This one's a 5-sided penta point. This one's just a flat nose. You can set those pins up any way you want to. But we're going to be testing today with cup points, which are these over here, and penta. And what I got set up is I've got 2 batches of hollow points that I made, and one of them here was with 1% tin, and it's roof flashing lead. I know it was roof flashing because I bought the flashing from the junkyard. Now that lead is harder. It's generally up around 8.4 BHN, the lead alone. And with that 1% tin in there, these here tested today at 9.8 BHN. Now, this batch of lead here on these are going to be some cup point test and 2 pentas. They are 2% tin, and this is soft lead, and it's the best I've had to use so far. I forget where I bought it, but the guy said it was guaranteed soft lead. So I'm guessing it's 5 point something BHN to start, maybe 6. But all of these right here are 6.4 BHN tested today. Now, I'm using, let me change things around here a little bit. I'm using tight group, and it's for a 225 grain round nose, and that would be this round nose here. That's just a standard round nose 452374, I believe, is a Lyman mold, and it's around 225, 228, depends on your blend. But with tight group, I've got a 4.5 to 5.1 grain spread. This load I carefully measured at 5 grains for all of these. And you'll notice that some of the numbers have a circle around them, and that's because I put a silicone tip in them. And I believe you can start to see that with, there's a penta with silicone. There you can see the shine on that one. That's a cup point I filled with silicone. And there's another cup right there. I use this little jobber-do right here to fill them, so I can fill from the bottom of the cavity up to the top without getting any air bubbles. If you get air bubbles in there, air compresses, so it kind of defeats the purpose of having that plug. Let's see, what else can I tell you? Like I said, the first two here are 9.8 BHN. These are 6.4 here. Oh, yeah, you notice I got numbers on the base. And I put them on with that calligraphy pen right there. I hope even these here are numbered. I just got them setting that way so that silicone is set up. James Bacon over at the Reloaders Network. Now, he's done extensive work with hollow points, but his approach was a lot more scientific than mine. He took pure lead he bought, I think from Roto Metals, and pure tin, and blended up all his mixtures, you know, his 20-to-1 through 40-to-1, and he approached it that way. He's got terrific information on his website, so you want to be sure and check him out if you're interested in casting and making hollow points actually work like they're supposed to at the speed you want to shoot them at. See, that's part of the game too. So anyway, that's what I got set up on this end. What I wanted to do though is start to establish better records, because I've been real bad about keeping records. Start comparing the silicone tips with the no-tip type hollow point and do it in different media. You notice that Lever Guns 50 uses all those wet t-shirts and jeans and stuff. I want to do that too. I don't have gel blocks like Bacon has, but I'm sure I'm going to talk him into testing a few for me. I want to learn about speed versus the hardness, the Brinell hardness number, and using typical lead that casters have. And I'm taking kind of a redneck approach, because we generally have clip-on wheel weights, stick-on wheel weights, roof flashing, and some of us have 60-40 or 63-37 type solder to work with to add tin. But I'm going at it from that method there, from kind of the poor boys approach. And then I want to determine some redneck blends that we can do with those. It's kind of a more practical way, because not everybody's spending the big bucks like Bacon did and getting the raw ingredients from Roto Metals. Now, these, you can see that's a cut point there on the bottom. That is set at 1.182 overall length. The same bullet there in a Lyman is set at 1.271, so that's like 89 thousandths difference, I believe. But it's because of that cut off nose on it, the reason it's shorter. And but I'm using all load calcs for this right here. I've shot tons and tons of these. All right, now what I've been doing over here is I've been getting all the loads ready on this old turret. And like I said, we're using tight group. And I've already sized them. I've already flared them and expanded. And I've already loaded my powder in. And I used this little scale here, set for 5 grains. I used my dippers and my little cup there for dipping. And I also re-zero my scales before I start. I've got right here is a RCBS check weight scale. Whoop. And I know for a fact I'm throwing 5 grains here. So I'll finish seating all these rounds, and we'll figure out what we can do with them. All right, stand by, fellas. We're getting right to it. Okay, let's get these things seated now. Case number 1. Here's this is a cedar and crimp die, RCBS. Another RCBS cedar and crimp die. This one's missing the cedar stem. This one's adjusted for seating only, and I've got it backed out a turn and a half or something like that, so it will not try and crimp at all. This one will put a crimp on it, and I generally take them down 472, 471, right through there. So anyway, let's get rolling. First customer, number 1, Penta. Now, you know, I didn't tell you guys, but these Pentas, my ass, these cut points generally weigh in the neighborhood of 207, 208 grains when they're PC'd. And the Penta generally weighs around 211 grains. So there's a difference there, but I don't think it's enough difference to make a lot of difference in what we're doing. But I'm just noting that, you know. All right, let's get these going. When I'm doing small batches, I just check every one of them with the cartridge checker. All right, number 1, ready to rock and roll. Case number 2. Cut point number 2. Case number 6. Penta number 6. Okay, time for the putting. Now the test platform is going to be a Kimber. It's a commander size, 4 1/4 barrel. And that old beach towel there is folded 4 times, and it's a thick cotton towel. That's it's wet, and it kind of keeps the splash from splashing, because it'll come out of that tube if you don't have something in front of it. So let's see if this will go okay. Chronograph is on. Stand by. Let's get them out of there. Got a handful of hollow points here. Or mushrooms, I should say, out of the mushroom generator. All right, we'll talk about them in a minute here. All right, now before we take a look at the numbers and take a look at the condition of the mushrooms, I want to first talk about why I fill those cavities with silicone. Now, I don't have any empirical evidence other than what I'm just saying from my memory. But some time ago, I tried to create a 3-wing Penta and out of a 38 Keith style semi-wad cutter. And I did that by making a little tool that I put the cast over in the grease sizer, lubricizer, and put that bit up in there, and then I was able to bring that bit down with the die stopped where it won't move, and press it into that hollow point, and it put 3 crease lines inside inside diameter of the hollow point. And what that turned out to be is those are tear points, just like the sharp corners inside of a regular Penta hollow point. And that was my idea. I wanted those wings to fold out big and wide and do a whole lot of cutting as they entered the flesh, the target, because they're spinning like a propeller. Now, I tested them in the water tube I had at the time, and then I sent some to Elvis Ammo, and he tested them in the gel, and they came out identical as far as how they mushroomed out. But the reason I'm mentioning this silicone in the hollow point cavity is because I had to use that with those hollow points, because when the bullet meets the water or meets the gel, it creates a real high pressure inside that hollow point, and that's what folds our lead back and creates the mushroom. When I did not have those cavities filled with the silicone at the time I was using, it was called Big Stretch. It tore the wings off. It'd tear one off, it'd tear two off, tear three off, depends on the speed I was experimenting at. But I noticed that when I started using it, that it takes a little bit of energy to compress that silicone and then start expanding the lead. So it uses a little bit of horsepower to do that, and I ended up calling that controlled expansion. And the silicone plug also prevents material, a jacket or t-shirt or whatever, from clogging up that cavity, trapping air in there. As you know, air will compress, so you're going to lose a lot of horsepower that should have been devoted to opening that cavity, compressing that air. So I just wanted to mention that. The reason is old Murphy got me today. Here's what happened. You notice how I had the backside of those casts numbered with this calligraphy pen. This is a paint pencil. Well, I didn't think about it, but the fire inside the chamber completely consumed that paint, and I had to look at the backside of those casts with red light, blue light, green light, and just regular white light from a flashlight to try and find any trace at all of what those numbers were. And two of them were real conspicuous, but the rest of them, it was like it was never there. So part of what I'm going to show you here is an assumption on my part, because looking at a hollow point that expands at the same speed, same blend, same hollow point, that has an empty hollow point, they tend to expand more. And the ones that have the silicone plug in them tend to expand a little bit less. And that's the only way I was able to sort these things out. Plus, they were all different colors, and I had record of that too. So let's take a look at them here and talk about what happened. Okay, first of all, let's look at the numbers. Had 1,157 feet per second average on that 6-shot string. 15 extreme spread and 6 standard deviation. So it looks like that tight group really likes to perform at this level. We're still a tenth of a grain off maximum for the load on a 225 grain round nose. Remember now, these weigh anywhere 206 to 208, right into there, 209 for a cup, and they weigh 210, 213 for the Penta. There's more lead in that Penta than a cup. So with that being said, let's look at these primers a little bit. I haven't loaded before
at such a high speed. I've kept them right at 950, and I think I was using 4.9 grains of tight group. That's been my standard, but on this test I wanted to kind of push it up near the maximum, thinking more penetration in a gel where we can measure it. So the primers, they look pretty good. I don't see anything there to get excited about. Nice round edges. So with that said, let's see here. The 9.8 BHN cup points, you can see old number 1 there. He's got his wings folded back pretty good. The number 2 is not so folded out, folded back. 205.2 grains remaining on number 1, 207.1 on number 2. That first one ran at 1,153 feet per second, and number 2 ran at 1,164. And I expected the 9.8 BHN to be pretty doggone good. You can see that those wings here on the one that had the silicone in it almost stopped straight out from the shaft of the bullet, from the shank. They're folded back a little bit, but it still leaves us with a pretty good sized hollow point, whereas you can see old number 1 here, he's folded back pretty hard on that one side. Not a big difference, but there is a difference. Now on these soft ones at 6.4, I expected to see them just tore up like hell when I saw those chrono numbers. These are cup points here. You can see old number 3, he got the heck tore out of him. And he's also missing, what was it, about 24 or 25 grains, something like that. 1,162 feet per second on him. 210 grains on number 4. And I call number 4 overexpanded too to somewhat, because you see how the mushrooms folded back? I mean, I can live with that. That's totally acceptable to me. But I'd sure like to be able to build these things where that mushroom will stick straight out to the shank of the bullet, because that gives us our widest diameter going in the target. And you can see this old boy almost lost the whole thing. This one did not have, where did it go? Here it is. It did not, this had a hollow cavity, so it got the full horsepower of that 1,162 feet per second working on it. And I didn't find that little piece of lead that was missing. I'm surprised at that. Anyway, I call that a fail. That's a fail in anybody's book. Okay, now to the pentas. 1,149 feet per second on that number 5. That was the empty hollow point. 212.8 grains. Number 6 running at 1,156 feet per second, and it retained 211.1. So I can't say, I didn't weigh them individually. I just took a sort. Now number 6 had the silicone in it, and it did fold that mushroom back a little bit, but it did not fold it back as bad as it did on this one here, which was empty. Look at those things. Folded back farther than the base is. That's why I keep saying that having those hollow points filled with silicone gives you a better controlled expansion. I really expected these at 6.4 BHN at that speed to come out in fragments. I'm just flabbergasted at the results we got. So we're all in new territory here. We're just going to be collecting the data and seeing what we can figure out about things after we get a lot of data in the books. So that's it. That's the whole shittery for today, boys. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed using that tube. It sure was handy. All right, so if you aren't familiar with our Reloaders network, please drop by over there and have a look. We've got a chat side over. I think it's run on an outfit called Discord, so it can be live chat. We start out in the old Porch Dogs channel every morning, having coffee and talking about what's going on. Then it's got another part of the network where you can write and post articles, and then another part of the network that's, oh, what the heck do they call that? It's where you can just post and the posts keep running. There's all sorts of different channels in there. Dang, forgive me for not remembering that, Bacon. Anyway, come see us over here. We got a lot of fine guys joined up with this outfit. Some real smart loaders, casters, and shooters. Some top-notch boys, and everybody wants to share their information, and that's kind of unusual today. Come see us. All right, so you guys know our country's in turmoil. Keep that head on the swivel. Watch that 6. Take care of your family. Take care of your neighbors. And I'll see you in our next test job, whatever that comes up. All right, thanks for watching. Thanks for your comments. Thumb me up every now and then, and we'll see you next time.
Lazy bone, sleeping in the sun. How you expect to get your day's work done? You never get your day's work done. Sleeping in the noonday sun. Lazy bone, sleeping in the shade. How you expect to get your cornmeal made? You never get your cornmeal made. Sleeping in the noonday shade. And when the taters need spraying, I bet you keep praying that the bug fall off of the vine.